and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here and I'm so happy that it's February. I've never wanted January to end so badly in my life because January was a lot. It was terrifying, it was traumatizing, it was all the things. So in this new month of February, I'm hoping for a more calm, peaceful month, a no news month. We just get to vibe out. It is Black History Month as well. I don't do anything that's crazy during this month because I celebrate Blackness year-round. So just to put that out there. But in this video, I'm going to be sharing my February TBR, my book mail that I've received recently that I'm really excited about. Some really cool titles coming out that just happy to have in my hands in advance. And then I'm also going to be sharing some books that I've personally purchased myself in the past couple of weeks because yes, although I'm super excited and grateful to receive book mail, I still buy books for myself all the time. That's just me. I'm always gonna buy a book. So yeah, let's get started. Before we get into the TBR and the book mail of it all, I want to share some books that I've read recently. Yes, I know February just started, but I have been reading really good books that I just want to talk about briefly. So first book is A Girl Within a Girl by Nanda Reddy. This book was sent to me by Zibby Publishing, and wow, what a story is what I'll start this off by. So let me set the scene for you. Okay, we have a mom. Her name is Maya. She's a mom of 2 boys. She's married. She lives in Atlanta and she does content and you know, they live a pretty systemed life. Everything flows very well. Everything is cool. Then one day she gets a letter and the letter is addressing her by a different name and it's from her sister saying that, you know, their mom has passed and that the sister has cancer and that she should get checked to see if she has any cancer cells as well. The interesting part about that is that we didn't know that she had a sister and who is this person that this letter is addressed to. So her husband sees it and he's like, who's Sunny? That's the name that was in the letter. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Probably sent to the wrong address. At this point, her world is crashing down. So we find out that basically Maya has been lying about who she is in her entire life, all the way up until this point. And now she's 40 years old. So that's how the book starts. And then it goes back to how she got here in the first place. She's from Guyana and she moved to America when she was 12 or 13, and the things that she saw and experienced were really heartbreaking, but the story I think is really beautiful. It's painful at many parts, but you can't help but to root for the main character the entire time. It's one of those books that I feel like there's just so much to discuss. So much to discuss. There are parts of the book where I was like sitting on my couch, like holding my head like this in like fear for our main character. Absolutely love this book. It's out March 4th and I'm secretly hoping that it wins my book club's vote for the month of March so that we can read it together because I need to talk about this book with someone. So definitely add this to your radar if it's not already there. Next is And Then He Sang a Lullaby by Annie Coyote Somtochukwu. I talked about this book in the video that I talked about books I want to prioritize this year. So here is my first one that I finished. I am feeling very proud of myself for that. Thank you. As I anticipated, I did very much so love this book. It follows 2 young boys in Nigeria and they're both queer. One of them kind of accepts his queerness early on and he's a little bit more feminine. And then the other one is very like passing cis man and he's struggling with this internal battle of accepting his queerness and there's a lot of self-hate that's happening. So seeing both of their perspectives was really interesting. They also talk about the same-sex ban or act that is in Nigeria as well too, but we get to see how both of the boys respond to it. Really fascinating. I think the writing was really great. It was sad. Wow, this book was so sad, but I loved it. It reminded me of Blessings by Chukwuebuka in many different ways. It reminded me of that, but they're also so different, but they're like in conversation with each other. So yeah, I really like this book. I'm glad I finally read it after owning it for so many months, but I definitely recommend this one as well too. And lastly, I was so lucky to get a copy of The Edge of Water by Olufunke Grace Bankole. I talked about this in my most anticipated reads video. What I'm thinking about for myself is like, I'm so glad that I know myself well enough to know if I'll like a book And I knew from this description that I would love this book, and I was right. I haven't finished it yet. I have about 20-ish pages or less left to go, and I can already see that this will be on my top reads for the year, 100%. The writing is so beautiful. It's traditional in the space of like Nigerian and being Yoruba, which of course is very close to me because that is my culture. So I feel seen there. I love the conversation about respectability politics in regards to our culture. And the mother-daughter relationship dynamic is done in a way that I feel like is so relatable in many, many different ways. And this book, I can already see that I'm going to be talking about it for a long time. Like, yeah, it's one of those. And lastly, another thing that she does in this book is talk about Hurricane Katrina, because parts of this book take place in New Orleans. And what I found fascinating about that is when I've read books that mention Hurricane Katrina, it's more so just like a mention. As someone that's lived in the South for pretty much my whole life, there was so much that happened around that time that I feel like years later, you like start thinking about new things and new nuances that you might have missed during the time. She talks specifically about the lead up to Hurricane Katrina and then life in the dome, which I haven't really read anything as detailed about since Hurricane Katrina happened. So to see that in this book, it was like heart-wrenching. It brought back so many memories because like I live in Texas, so I do remember when everyone came from New Orleans to Texas, and I'm thinking to myself like, that was a very traumatic experience. And I don't think that they got the resources that they needed to truly move through that. And it's not something that I was thinking about. Like, you know, when you say resources after hurricane, you're thinking money, food, clothes, but I'm talking like mental health and all of those other things, right? So I was just thinking about all of that while reading that part of the book, but it's up there for me. Couldn't recommend it more, and I'm not even finished with it yet. So yeah, those are the books that I've read in the past like 2 weeks that have just really been standouts to me. All right, let's move on to the book mail. I'm going to be mentioning some of the publishers that sent me these things, but I just want to give a thank you in advance to all the publishers that send me books. It really makes my day, especially right now. Like I can just like feel the dopamine boosting when I see that I have a package and I see that it's a book. Like there's no other feeling. So thank you to the publishers. First book is Goddess Complex by Sanjana Sathian. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. I apologize in advance. But this one was sent to me by Penguin Press. Sanjana wrote Gold Diggers, which I read maybe, I want to say that might have been 4 years ago now, or 3 years ago. I don't have a concept of time. But this one is described as a biting examination of millennial adulthood, the often fraught conversations around fertility and reproduction, and the painful quest to forge an identity. I've already started this one. I'm on page 50. Like I have my little like Cat Williams bookmarking here. But I really like the writing so far. It's like cutthroat, straight to the point, not holding back. My favorite type of writing. So I'm probably going to finish this one in the next couple of days and I'll review it later. Next is Fundamentally by Nusaiba Yunus. Again, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names, please forgive me. But this book comes out in February 25th, so this month. And I got this one from Tiny Rep Books. And it's described as a wickedly funny and audacious debut novel following an academic who flees from heartbreak and lands in Iraq with an insane job offer, only to be forced to do the work of confronting herself. I've also already started this one as well too. Very funny, reads like a satire. I'm not that deep into the story yet to know how I feel yet, but so far so good. Next is Archive of Unknown Universes by Ruben Reyes Jr. Ruben wrote There's a Rio Grande in Heaven, which was a story collection I think that came out last year. I really enjoyed that one as well, and I got this copy from Mariner. This comes out July 2025. There's no date on the back of the book, but it's described as a piercing debut novel following two families and alternative timelines of the Salvadoran Civil War. It sounds really interesting. Ruben's writing, from what I remember, and There's no Rio Grande in Heaven, is really just like sharp, very memorable. So I'm looking forward to reading my first novel from Ruben. So yeah, thanks Mariner. Next is Small Ceremonies by Kyle Edwards. This is from Pantheon Books. They sent this to me, so thank you to them. It comes out April 1st. And it's described as a poignant and heartwarming coming-of-age story that follows the friendships, hopes, fears, and struggles of a group of Native high school students from Winnipeg, Manitoba's North End, illuminating what it's like to grow up forgotten, urban, poor, and Indigenous. I think I mentioned this at some point, but I do want to read more Indigenous work this year, so I was really excited to receive this copy to kind of start my journey towards that. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I love a coming-of-age story, so yeah. Next is Dirty Kitchen by Jill Domatok. This is from Atria and it comes out May 6th. And this is a memoir. At this point, you guys know I love memoirs, but it's described in the style of Crying in H Mart, which if you haven't read that, 100% recommend. And Minor Feelings. Filmmaker Jill Domatok blends memoir, food writing, and colonial history as she cooks her way through recipes from her native-born Philippines and shares stories of her undocumented family in America. I think that, of course, this book is timely for many reasons. I'm looking forward to just reading this type of writing style. We've got like food and like maybe some film stuff in there too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Next is Detective Auntie by Uzma Jalaluddin. Hope I'm saying that right. This is from Harper Perennial and it comes out May 6th. It's described as when her grown daughter is suspected of murder, a charming and tenacious widow digs into the case to unmask the real killer in this twisty, page-turning whodunit, the first book in a cozy new detective series from the acclaimed author of Aisha at Last. I don't read a lot of whodunits, but some of my favorites are Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. I guess that is my only favorite. So, oh, and then Vera Wong as well. I'm hoping that this feels a lot like that as well too. It sounds interesting and like the cover is pretty funny. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one, just for like a lighter read. Another one from Harper Perennial is Courtroom Drama, and this is by Neely Tubati Alexander, also from Harper Perennial, and it comes out May 20th. I read Love Buzz from her and Not So Perfect World, I think was what it's called. Yeah, so I'm already familiar with her writing style, and I definitely love the way that she writes love stories. So this one is described as a high-stakes courtroom love story about romance, friendship, and reality television from the acclaimed author of Love Buzz and In a Not So Perfect World. It has all of my favorite things. I love reality TV. Also, like, I don't think I've read a romance that takes place in a courtroom. I think it's interesting. The premise sounds very like fun. So yeah, we'll see. Next is Yours Eventually by Noura Maznavi. Again, I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is from Dutton. What's interesting about this one is that it's actually blurbed by Uzma Jalaluddin, who was the whodunit book I just talked about. And she describes it as a swoony, romantic, unputdownable homage to Jane Austen's classic Persuasion, set in a Muslim American family. A delight from the first page to the last. I can't wait to see what Maznavi comes up with next. I mean, it sounds really good. I haven't read that much romance this year. I hate that for me. So I'm really hoping that this kind of scratches that itch and kind of dives me or throws me back into the romance world, because a lot of the stuff I've been reading lately has been very heavy. So I'm hoping that this is not as heavy, but we'll see. Next is What Will People Think by Sarah Hamdan. This comes out in May of this year and it's from Holt, and it's described as a young New Yorker must hide her fledgling stand-up comedy career from her straight-laced family until a buried generational truth threatens to peek out from behind the curtain in this heartfelt, funny debut novel. Sounds like everything that I enjoy. I love a family story. I also love books set in New York. I just, something whimsical about them. It was probably pretty basic, but I don't know, I just really enjoy it, mostly because I have lived there before, so it's nice to just kind of like see parts of the city that I enjoy. Anyways, I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. And lastly, I actually screamed when I opened this package because I've been talking about this book every day since I've seen the cover pretty much. I got The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley. Again, I talked about this in my most anticipated video. I loved Night Crawling. I love her writing in general. So when I opened the package and this book popped out, I was like, so excited. This one is described as a novel about a fierce group of teenage mothers in the Florida Panhandle. Disha Filyal also blurbed it and said that Layla Motley takes us into the treacherous terrain where girlhood and womanhood collide and where families and friendships fracture and the lines between them blur. Simone, Adela, Emery, and the girls live out loud and are flawed, tender, and absolutely unforgettable. What more can I say? Like, I'm so excited. This book doesn't come out until June 24th. I'm definitely gonna read it before then. I know, I have like a system on how I read my advanced copies, but because I'm so excited to read this one, I do think it's gonna be on my TBR for this month. I do. I can't wait. So yes, thank you so much to Knopf. Love you guys. Let's get into the books that I bought myself because like I said, I'm still buying books for myself all the time. First up is Needy Little Things by Chanel Desamores. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. And I've actually already listened to this one. I got the advanced audio from NetGalley and I absolutely loved it. Let me tell you the description. Soraya Lee Bryant can hear what people need, tangible things like a pencil, a hair tie, a phone charger, an ability only her family and her best friend Malcolm know the truth about. But when she fulfills a need for her friend Deja, who vanishes shortly after, Soraya is left wondering if her ability is more curse than gift. Aside of Soraya's ability, what I liked about this book was that it really highlighted the ways that Black and brown kids aren't prioritized when we're having conversations about missing children in comparison to white children. I really thought the focus of that was really important to the book and just an important conversation in general. I thought the writing was really, really good. It's a young adult book and I very much so just kind of like was so attached to the story from the very beginning. If you listen to the audio is really, really done well. And at the end of the book, it seems like there might be a second one. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, I love the audio so much that I had to get a physical copy for my collection. Next is The Rules of Fortune by Danielle Prescott. She wrote Token Black Girl, and the description of this one really drew me in. Let me read it to you. It starts off by saying, their father built his legacy on lies. His children inherit the truth. On their Martha's Vineyard estate, the Carter family prepares to celebrate, but when the billionaire patriarch dies right before his 70th birthday, the media is quick to question the future of the multi-industry conglomerate that makes the Carters living legends. Amid the succession crisis, his daughter Kennedy is questioning her father's past. It's been described as like a Succession kind of story, wealthy family filled with secrets, how did her father become a billionaire type thing. Very interested in this one. As you guys know, I love Renee Watson and she has a new story titled All the Blues in the Sky. This is another young adult and I think it's written in verse. It's described as everyone likes beautiful blue skies, but sometimes the sky is dark blue, black blue, midnight blue, and sometimes life is blue too. Sage's 13th birthday was supposed to be fun, staying up late with her best friend and watching the sunrise together. Instead, it was the day her best friend died. Without the person she had to hold her secrets and to dream with, Sage is lost. In a counseling group, she learns that not all losses are the same and healing isn't predictable. And even as Sage grieves, good things enter her life. Steps taken toward her dream of becoming a pilot, new friends, a first kiss, and she just may find a way to know that she can feel it all. I feel like grief among children is not something that's like a big topic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Renee tackles that conversation with our girl Sage. Also, she's going to be in Houston for a grief writing workshop this month and I'm so excited to go. I feel like we are all carrying immense levels of grief. So to be able to have a space where we can kind of find ways of writing our grief to be able to release it or to even just learn how to live with it feels really important to me and I'm very excited for that workshop and just to hear Renee speak, honestly, love her. So had to pick this up as well. Next is We Rip the World Apart by Charlene Carr. I talked about this in my most anticipated and I've actually already did an advanced listening of this book and I really enjoyed it. It discusses race in a way that I think is starting to be talked about more from a biracial standpoint. It's described as a sweeping multi-generational story about motherhood, race, and secrets in the lives of 3 women. We get many different perspectives. It takes place in Jamaica and in Canada. I enjoyed this book. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Hold My Girl. It was a pretty good read. I liked it enough to get a physical copy for my collection, so I'll say that. Next is The Broposal by Sonora Reyes. They wrote The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School and The Luis Ortega Survival Club. I hope I'm remembering those titles correctly, but I love their writing. Very sharp, very relatable, sad, hopeful, all the things. So This is their new book, and it's described as when best bros say fake I do's, will their friendship survive? It's about time roommates Alejandro and Kenny get married. At least that's what all their close friends and family think when they announce their engagement. The kicker? The two are faking their whole relationship so Alejandro can get a green card. But if Han was going to marry anyone, it would be his ride or die since first grade. Han has never been able to put down roots, and the only one who truly breaks through his walls is Kenny. So I think that this sounds like it's going to be really beautiful and also complicated. I think also very timely in the world that we live in right now. I had to pick this one up because I'm a big fan of their writing and I'm looking forward to reading it. I think I'm gonna add it to my TBR this month. Next is The Day God Saw Me as Black by D. Danielle Thomas. I actually got to see her in Houston a few weeks ago, and this book is described as womanist manifesto doing the righteous work of locating Blackness and glorious wholeness and understanding the Black body as the most holy, sacred text from which we will ever read. Yeah, their author conversation really sold me on the book. I feel like they have a lot to say when it comes to religion, Christianity, and white supremacy in general, and what does it mean to have a safe space, and is the church a safe space anymore, and can it be for the future, and what is the future of the Black church? Lots of things to think about. I have the audio, it's read by the author, so I'm just making my way through that, but I got the physical copy at the event as well. Next is We Do Not Part by Hong Kong. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She won the Nobel Prize, and I've never read her work before. She wrote The Vegetarian and another book that I can't remember the title of, but I've seen only great things about this book so far. I've seen so many reviews that I absolutely had to pick it up. It's described as Kong's mesmerizing new novel tells the story of a friendship between two women while powerfully reckoning with a hidden chapter of Korean history. Yes, and this is also translated, which I've mentioned I do want to focus on translated lit this year, so this fulfills both of those needs, and I'm really excited to read my first book by her. There might be a review, who knows, we'll see. And lastly, I had to pick up The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. I've already read The Neighbor Favor and The Partner Plot. Of the two, The Partner Plot was my favorite. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. So the book series is about three sisters. So I've read about the first two sisters, and this is the last sister from that series. I love having a complete set of things, and I've been really excited for this book since she dropped the cover at some point last year. So this one is described as an R&B singer and a corporate executive let love take center stage in this romance by Christina Forrest. Sounds fun. And again, I haven't read a romance in forever, so I'm absolutely reading this month as well. All right, so many exciting books that I've mentioned in this video, and now it's time to pick my TBR. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely struggled with that this month for sure, but I read a Substack. I don't remember who the writer of the Substack is, but I'll include it in the description if you want to read it. But she talked about how she's approaching reading this year and said that she was giving herself a monthly cap on how many books to read every month. And that feels like a sustainable practice to me. So every month, I'm going to be capping myself at 10 books. January was a little out of hand. She was a little crazy. So for February, I want to stick with 10 books, and I think I can do it. Let's see. So first, I want to focus on Bibliotherapy in the Bronx by Emily Rumble. Like I mentioned, this is one of my most anticipated for the year. I want to be able to read it and review it before its release date on April 29th. So I definitely want to get to that this month just so that I can take my time with it and then write my review. But if you aren't aware of Bibliotherapy in the Bronx, it is a groundbreaking exploration of the healing powers of literature in the lives of marginalized communities. So excited. Next is another one that I've mentioned. This is Firstborn Girls by Bernice McFadden. This comes out in March. Don't see a date, but March of this year. Again, this was on my most anticipated. Since it comes out in March, this would be the perfect time for me to read it and review it because it's closer to the release date, and hopefully I can talk to people about it once I'm done. But it's described as an intimate and powerful memoir exploring inherited trauma, family secrets, and the enduring bonds of love between mothers and daughters. I feel like this one is going to be really heavy. So knowing that I'm reading stuff that's a little bit heavier, I'll also throw in some lighter reads as well too, just to kind of give me some balance. And then All the Blues in the Sky as well. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be going to that event this month, so I will prioritize reading it before the event as well too, so that I can, I guess, be a little bit more engaged and have my questions for Renee if we have the opportunity to ask her anything at the workshop. And finally, I'm going to be picking up Hanif's book, They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. I feel like I'm ready to dive into his work this month, so I'm adding this to my TBR. You guys hold me accountable. Thank you. It's a collection of essays, and Brian Washington, who is an author that I love, said that Abdurraqib is just phenomenal. I don't know what else to tell you. These sentences make me feel how I feel watching Simone Biles on a vault, or Shoma Una on the ice, or anyone who's just impossibly stellar at whatever they're doing. I'm excited. I mean, again, I've only heard fantastic things, so it's time for me to read. Next is Girls Like Her by Melanie Sumro, which was another book that I said I was prioritizing this year, so this will be my second one. Thank you. I'm very proud of myself again. But this one is about a wealthy businessman is dead, and 15-year-old Ruby Monroe is in a Dallas jail awaiting trial for his murder. This is a young adult book, another book that has fantastic reviews, and I must read young adult, or else I start to feel like an absence of it. So this will be one of my main young adult books for this month. Then I'm also again going to be prioritizing The Broposal, which I did describe. This would be hopefully one of my lighter reads, or just one of my happily ever after ending reads. Then we have The Love Lyric as well, another romance to balance us out this month. And it has to be on my TBR for this month. I can't wait. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading this. Some audiobooks I'm prioritizing as well is Loca by Alejandro Heredia, which I have already started, and it's reminding me so much of Pose, and I miss that show so dearly. But yeah, the writing is amazing. It's beautiful. The narrators are doing a fantastic job. I knew I would love it, and I do. Another book that I'm prioritizing audio for is Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. As y'all know, Oathbound comes out on March 4th, and I'm doing like a little read along over on Instagram. So I'm making my way through the chapters. I think I'm on chapter like 27 of that book, and I'm just listening to like an hour or so every day leading up until the release of Oathbound. So yeah, that's another audio that I'm focusing on. So yeah, those are the books that I've gotten recently, the books that I'm prioritizing this month. Again, I'm hoping that this month is a lighter month for all of us. I'm hoping that we have a little time to recover from so much of the horrors that we're witnessing throughout the world. As y'all know, books are my safe space. They're where I retreat to, they're where I recover. They help me keep my creativity and imagination flowing when the world around me is trying to take that away from me. So yeah, again, I'm so grateful for books. I'm so grateful to be a reader. It really is such a joy in my life. Even when the books are sad and heavy, still such a joy. I feel like I just grow every day when I dive into these stories. So I'm hoping that, you know, I'm able to stick to my TBR this month. I am a mood reader, you guys know, but I'm gonna try. And I think effort is enough. Oh my gosh, I totally almost forgot to announce the giveaway winner. So the winner of the giveaway who will receive a $50 gift card to bookshop.org is @Erin_bookish. Congratulations, and thank you so much for being here. In order to claim your prize, please DM me on Instagram and I'll be able to handle everything from there. So yeah, thanks everyone for participating in the giveaway. There will definitely be more in the future. If we're reading any of the same books this month, make sure to comment to let me know, or if you have any recommendations of some books that you're reading that you have to like recommend to anyone that you talk to, I'm also down to hear those as well too. But yeah, thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.